Planet Fist, by Jumpgate Games, is a total conversion of Claymore's Fist that is now powered by the apocalypse narrative wargame of satirical sci-fi skirmish storytelling. To sum it up, it's basically just PlanetSide 2, or just about any sci-fi FPS multiplayer experiences. Welcome to Hell, or rather, the war-torn planet of Sixaura, isolated from the rest of the civilizations due to the destruction of its Jumpgate. You are one of the soldier of one of the planet's three ruling empires, the corporate libertarian new committee that gives you the liberty of spending your constant ever-waking hours killing for any of the 6 arms manufacturers you prefer. The orthodox fascist Tyrant Council, that promises you that if you fight long enough, one day you'll return home to a family you never had in a nation you have never lived in. Never mind the fact that the economy of the Tyrant currently only functions in a state of constant war. And the techno-supremacist Valian ascendancy, where as long as you completely surrender bodily autonomy and submit to at-will VA gene mods, you will overcome the drudgery of Sixauran work life and reach your full potential as humans. Just leave all the higher level thinking to the scientists at VA command. These ruling bodies fight an unending, and in truth, unwinnable war for control of their new forever home, and through nanocloning, you no longer have the right for the sweet release of death. The empires of Sixaura have done away the need for medical care and reproduction. There is no longer any need for children, parents, homes, funerals, hospitals. There is only work. There is only war. So, how do you play the game? Well, if you have read Fist, you can quickly figure it out already, but if you don't, it's still easy to learn. For every roll, you will be rolling 2d6, and your character has 4 stats: grit, tactics, etiquette, and precision. Roll 6 and below, you fail. Roll 7 and above, you get 3 different results of success. And if you have war dice, usually gained through class traits, you can use those to boost your roll when you really need it. This, much like in Fist, allows for a quick combat flow, simulating the thrill of action you could get in modern FPS, which is gonna be very helpful in Planet Fist because you don't just kill fast, you will also die fast. The lowest damaging weapon deals 1d6 damage, your character has 2 health and 2 shield that can regenerate. You can probably do the math already. Luckily, you can quickly reassemble in battlefield to die even faster, I mean reinforce the current situation, as long as you have a reassembly point, which can be reassembly tanks in facility controlled by your faction, squad beacon that your squad can throw out to reassemble in advantageous spots in battle, but is also a bright glowing target that must be placed outdoors, so better guard it well, and your squad personal ride, the Panther APC. Speaking of facility, every faction's goal on Sixaura is total global control, but that's not gonna happen in a trillion years, so they settle for the next best thing: capture and hold as much facilities as possible. And that's probably what your squad will be doing half the damn time, and this is done by capturing and holding a sync point, or 2, depending on the facility. It's also a good idea to make up a map of the battlefield, even if distance is mostly approximate. One thing you should remember is that a sync point is always around 100 meters away from the nearest reassembly tank, and reassembly via Panther doesn't work within 100 meters of it, meaning you and the enemies always take 1 turn to reach it, unless you use a squad beacon that, as its name implies, only reassemble your squad, so that can be very helpful, but only to your squad. Also, reassembly tanks don't work when your faction don't own it, meaning, if you got order to assault an enemy facility, you better take good care of your Panther because it being blown up might as well mean that you can't do shit anymore. Luckily, if you do need more help in a fight, usually you will be given some pre-authorized assets or pre-auths at the beginning of a mission, or by completing mission objectives and getting advancements, which is the level's equivalent here. This can include NPC reinforcements, vehicles, and additional firepower, so if you want to call down a tank and farm the enemies, you absolutely can, just be wary of rockets. Also, it's very funny that there's one section in the GM guide specifically about putting sync points in buildings, so a random vehicle can't just instantly destroy any attempt of capturing or holding it, and as someone that played Halo multiplayer a couple times before, it's easy to understand why. You can also do an emergency requisition roll to the command if you ran out of pre-auths, but there's a high chance that they just tell you to fuck off and die, in which case you are probably doing one of that already. Also, in combat, each player can perform one risky action, which is action that requires rolling, and a safe action, which is action that don't. For the most part, safe action is for doing anything outside of combat. This includes moving out of sight and placing down deployables, but if you were to move while being shot at, this becomes risky, and failure could mean you get shot at or just freeze up. A similar thing is even applied to the NPC, as unengaged NPC moves while those that spot you don't, meaning one way or another, both sides will eventually congregate on one spot on the map because that's where the enemies are, just like in actual FPS matches, those that don't have insane mobility at least, and much like in those FPS matches, these situations usually collapses when one side doesn't have the firepower or number to support the front, or when someone takes the initiative to go for a flank. And guess what? By combining your safe and risky action, you can move and perform an action at once. It's still a risky move, but also death only slows you down, so you are absolutely incentivized to go in and do the crazy moves you often only see the FPS gods doing. Combine all these actions with the rest of the system, and you get one fantastic undying FPS TTRPG experience of constantly dying and throwing your characters repeatedly right into the grinders. Anyway, it's probably a good idea now to talk about how to make your character. Much like in Fist, characters are made up of traits. This includes faction unique traits, character traits that you pick two of, and class traits, which you can switch out at any moment to pick a different class. This includes the guy with more bullets, the guy that fixes stuff, the guy that fixes people, the guy that sneaks around, and the guy with jetpack. And as the players will be creating their characters as a squad, your group will be getting their own panther that they can customize to their liking, and unfortunately, not everyone only need to shoot and die. In big enough groups, someone will get promoted to get yelled at by your CO or even become officers. As if dying every hour isn't enough, you now need to deal with paperworks. Your character will also get to pick a role and bonds, which helps define your character, and fulfilling them in a session lets you advance, thus giving you new equipments, ranks, and other things. Though role and bonds also have another purpose, showing your character's humanity in the face of being ground to pieces in an endless war. Bonds in particular is about your character's relationship with another player's character, and how it will be is up to you. There's also one last thing, trinkets. This has no mechanical bonus or function at all, it's just a thing. You can potentially get more trinkets from enemies if you get lucky. There's no point to this at all, but it's not like there's a point to this goddamn war anyway. If collecting trinkets makes you happy, that useless thing is already more helpful than the war. And there you have it, Planet Fist, a turn-based wargame TTRPG for those that really cannot shoot for shit in a multiplayer FPS. I genuinely cannot play any multiplayer FPS games with time to kill measured in seconds, so this is a good way for me to experience one in a more comfortable way. Anyway, you can get it now on itch.io. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.